Hey everyone, and welcome back to the ATD Movie Channel. I'm Tony, and today I'll be reviewing Tag, the latest comedy starring Ed Helms and Jon Hamm. Let's jump right into it. Alright, so when I first actually saw the trailer for Tag, I did remember that this was based on a true story because I remember reading the articles a few years ago about the real life friends that had been playing tag for I think it was 20 years at the time. And to see the movie trailer, I knew that they were casting younger actors because the real life guys were a little bit older, but it just really struck a chord with me. And since the first trailer, I wanted to see this movie. So let me list some of the talent involved because it is a pretty nice cast. It's Ed Helms, Jon Hamm, Jake Johnson, Hannibal Buress, Jeremy Renner, and then there's a ton of great female talent: Isla Fisher, Rashida Jones, Annabelle Wallace, and Leslie Bibb. And I'll tell you what I liked and disliked about the movie, but overall I do want to tell you it's a fun comedy about great friendships, and it struck a chord with me, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So one of the main things that I liked is the friendship between these characters. And I can relate because I grew up in a small town where I had a great core of friends that I've stayed in contact with ever since. And we can all relate to our high school friends that we either wish we would have stayed in contact with, or we're so happy that we stayed in contact with. And there may be months and years where we don't talk or see each other, but when we get back together, it's like we didn't even skip a beat. And I can relate in that a few years ago, I was kind of feeling a little bit distanced from my best friends. And so I decided we're going to start a new tradition, and we are going to do a Friendsgiving in my hometown of Chico every year. And we've done it for 5 years now, I think 4 or 5 years, only having to skip once because I had a death in the family and my parents ended up coming here for a funeral instead of us going down there. I digress, but seeing my friends from Chico, Derek, Taylor, Mickey, Jeff, Andy, Ben, all my core group of best friends, seeing them once a year is really special to me. And if they're watching this video, they need to do a better job of reaching out, but that's neither here nor there. Again, I think one of the main things I loved is the friendship in this movie. I just think it really struck a chord with me, and I liked it a lot. Also, you're going to laugh, and I think this is kind of interesting to be talking about a comedy. One of the other things I liked about this movie is the action sequences, and the movie has action sequences that resemble a spy genre film. And it's in the trailer, but it's almost always involving the Jeremy Renner character trying to get tagged. And the premise is he's never been tagged in the 20 or 30 years they've been playing this game. And so you see him sort of focus in on avoiding getting tagged, and it looks just like a spy comedy where he's analyzing the surroundings and where the character is coming from and what he can use to his advantage. And it's really well done. The camera work on it is really well done, and I think it captures it's a funny way to capture something that would have been pretty ordinary otherwise. Another aspect of the movie I really liked is the comedy, the dialogue, and the writing of this film. It's funny because it's relatable for the most part. And again, specifically speaking, the dialogue. I think the comedy in the movie is great. I think it's grounded in reality. I think there's only a couple of times with the physical comedy where it goes over the top and you kind of roll your eyes. But for the most part, it's down to earth, it's grounded, and it's relatable. And without giving too much away, the movie really takes place over the course of a 3-day event, and with flashback sequences to their childhood from 6, 7, 8 years old to teenagers and so on and so forth, of them always playing this game. It's relatable and it's grounded in reality for the most part. Knowing that it's based on a true story, for me, added a little bit extra because of course Hollywood embellishes and of course Hollywood exaggerates, but for the most part the movie's pretty relatable, and that made it really interesting. It's a good movie. It's not great, and there are a couple things I didn't like about it. First thing is I think it's a little bit too long. And I'm not always necessarily talking about the length of a film in hours and minutes. I think that it's a little bit repetitive. There's a few scenes too many where they could have possibly taken it out, and it could have made for a more cohesive film. Almost always when I'm talking about the length of a film, I'm talking about editing as well, because I do think that those two things go hand in hand. The editing is a little sloppy in that it kind of plays with the pacing. The pacing has a couple like speed bumps throughout the movie, and it doesn't feel like an overarching 3-act story. It's hard to explain without spoiling anything, but there are a couple of key events that take place that slow the movie down to a screeching halt, only to have us ramp up and do it again. And so the pacing, the editing, and the length of the film, I think, could have been tightened up a little bit more. The other thing I didn't like, and it's a shame, is that Jeremy Renner is the friend who's never been tagged. He's sort of the villain in this movie, and it's such a shame. Because the movie highlights that they've always kind of felt a distance from him. The other core characters have felt an arm's reach distance from the Jeremy Renner character. They just start to touch on it, and they don't dive too deep into it. For me, it would have been really interesting to, again, explain that they're friends 11 months out of the year, and then they play this game of tag just once a year during the month of May. We should have seen a little bit more of a closeness between the Jeremy Renner character and the other core characters. They touch on it, and he's going through some things in his life that they're unaware of, and I don't think that was the right approach. I wish they would have sold Jeremy Renner as just another best friend who's just really, really good at this game that these guys play every year. Small, minor detail, and it's hard to really touch on it without going into details and spoiling. But once you watch the movie, let me know in the comments below if you felt like Jeremy Renner was made out to be too much of a villain. And the last thing I'll say is there's a twist in the movie that's pretty messed up, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's a big part of the plot. My point of explaining this to you in the review is the twist is pretty messed up, and that's fine. They can use a twist during the movie. But then there's a second twist that's even more messed up, and then that second twist loses its impact because of what they just did with the first twist a little earlier. These reviews are always hard for me. I'm not a professional critic, but what I can tell you is it'll make more sense if you see the movie. And if you do, let me know in the comments below if you felt like the twist and the second twist pulled you out of the film. Just let me know in the comments below. And in conclusion, I will tell you, overall, it's a good movie. It's fun. I highly recommend it if you have the Movie Pass or any sort of service like that, because now there's a few competitors to Movie Pass. It's not great. It's not gonna, be one of those classics like The Hangover 1 or anything like that. But I do think that there is a charm to it about friendship and friendship standing the test of time. I'm a sentimental guy. I'll admit it. I'm a sentimental guy. I've got pictures of me and my friends graduating high school and college just 4 feet away from me. That's who I am. And in planning this Friendsgiving with my friends every year, it's really important to me that I continue those friendships because, man, those are your friends that have helped you through what at the time you thought was the most difficult time of your life, through high school and girls and heartache and learning to drive and getting in trouble and all that stuff that happens with your friends, and it's important to keep in contact. Facebook is great and social media is great, but there's just nothing like getting together in person, catching up with your friends, even if it is once a year, which is what we've been trying to do for the last couple of years. So, have you seen Tag? And do you have a group of friends that you try to get with once a year from your childhood? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be notified of content uploaded regularly. You can find other movie reviews on the channel as well. Thanks for watching my review of Tag. I'll talk to you soon.